Hi there, Smart Drivers. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you today about why you should take a road test in the wintertime. Learn how to drive in the winter, you'll have a higher skill set, and the road test is less exacting. We'll give you more details about that. Stick around, we'll be right back with that information. Hi there, Smart Drivers. Welcome back. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you today about why you should take a road test in the wintertime and why you should learn to drive in the wintertime. Few people here. Miss Louise is here from Minnesota. Hall Phase is here from Toronto. Katie's here getting her learners. If you're just tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from in the world and what class of license you're going for. Brody wants to learn how to drive in the wintertime. We'll definitely give you some tips and strategies about that. And Sodal, I watched how to merge on highway, so I passed my full license. It was the first time. Thanks so much for your videos. Your road test was interesting. Excellent. Yes, Hall Phase, we've had an update to the background for Christmas, and just to make it a bit more interesting for those of you watching, other than just watching my talking head. I'm still having a little challenge with getting some of the lighting right here on the background. My driver's instructor's license over here, I guess, driving instructor's license, I can't seem to get the glare to stop from the lights. But anyways, Varun, greetings from Brampton, Ontario. Hello there. Excellent. So lots of people here. That's really great to see, and getting going here on getting your road test in the wintertime. And I've had a question from smart drivers about should they learn how to drive in the wintertime, should they get their license. So my definitive answer to that is yes, yes, yes. Go and get your license in the wintertime. Learn how to drive in the wintertime. You'll be better prepared for driving at any time of the year. You'll have a better understanding of the vehicle, better mastery of the controls, and as well in the wintertime, road tests are less exact. You don't have to be 8 to 12 centimeters from the curb because there's a snowbank there and you can't back into the snowbank. If you back into the snowbank, the driving examiner is not going to push you out if you get stuck. So know that you simply just have to get in behind the vehicle in front of you. You don't have to be 8 to 12 inches from the curb or 20 centimeters from the curb. As well, when you stop at controlled intersections, you don't have to stop at the correct stopping position, behind the stop line, behind the crosswalk lines or sidewalk, or at the edge where the two roads meet, depending on what the conditions are of that intersection. You simply have to stop behind the sidewalk because the snowbanks are going to the snow is going to preclude you from seeing the lines on the roadway. So know that for the purposes of taking your test in the wintertime. Mortz is here, going for my road test Wednesday. Pretty anxious to watching all your videos from Calgary. That's awesome. Congratulations, Mortz, on taking your road test and going for that. You're going to be great. John Doe helped me pass my road test 2 weeks ago. Awesome. Congratulations, John. That is awesome news. Thanks so much for stopping back and letting us know. Sudal is here in Ontario, Canada. Passed his road test there. Inexperienced opinion. Got my N test Wednesday in Kelowna, being with young drivers and watching you lots, hoping to pass first time, and you will. You've done the work there with young drivers. They're very good, and we'll get you going there. AK Kamali, I hope I'm saying that right. My apologies for mispronouncing that. Please, my test is 23rd December, but I never practiced in snow. I didn't pass 2 times. Okay, so what I suggest for those of you who have a road test coming up and there's snow now, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this more in the presentation, it's unlikely you're going to have snow on the day of your road test, okay? We do get winter, we do get snow and those types of things, but the chances of you actually driving in snow and them not having the roads cleared for you is about, less than 10%. Okay, they're going to have the roads cleared. They're going to do that. If it's snowing crazy amounts of snow, the test center is going to postpone your road test. That's all. That's what they're going to do. So we'll talk more about that. Nathan, got my road test this Tuesday in Surrey. Excellent. Good luck on that road test on Tuesday. So we're going to pop over to the PowerPoint presentation and get through that, and then we'll come back and we'll spend the rest of the hour answering questions that you have about your road test, anything that you are uncertain about or just want some clarification on. We'll answer questions about that. We'll answer questions about passing your first road test, questions about CDL license, air brakes, defensive driving. We'll answer all of those questions when we come back after the presentation. And as well, consider hitting that thumbs up button. If you're new to Smart Drive Test or watching on the replay, like what you see here, consider subscribing. Hit that subscribe button as well. So here we go. Okay. Over to the winter, learning in the wintertime. So driving in the wintertime. And this is some of the conditions that you may or may not encounter. Driving on roadways that are snow covered, haven't been plowed, haven't been sanded yet, or the sand is not effective because temperatures are below -8 degrees Celsius, which I think is about, I'm guessing, about 22 degrees Fahrenheit, because salt only works down to about -8. And after that, they have to put sand on the roads. So you're going to be driving on snow and ice and those types of things. Now, first thing to say is make sure you do a pre-trip inspection on your vehicle, especially if you're going down for a road test in the wintertime. Ensure that you have good quality tires on your vehicle. Otherwise, you're just going to be slipping and sliding all over the place. And if that is not something that you can afford, or you simply don't have access to a vehicle that has good quality winter tires on it, consider borrowing a vehicle for somebody or getting a vehicle somewhere else. Whatever you can do to get a vehicle with good winter tires on it, because that is going to make your road test so much more easy. So much more, that wasn't very good English, but it's going to make your road test easier. There we go. That's better English. Rick August, PhD, that's me. I was a long-haul truck driver during the 1990s. I was a licensed commercial driving instructor in 1997. That's when I first became a licensed commercial driving instructor in the province of Ontario, where it's a little bit strange. You became a licensed commercial driving instructor and get a certificate. Now, if you want to teach people how to drive a car, then you become licensed. And really, the industry kind of takes care of itself in that matter, because if you want to get a job as a driving instructor teaching people how to drive truck, you have to have that basis of having a license to teach people to drive a car, and then they'll hire you to drive truck or teach truck driving. So most of my career was spent driving, teaching people how to drive truck and do air brakes. 2006, I graduated from the University of Melbourne in Australia with a doctorate in legal history, and for those of you who may or may not know, is the study of policing, courts, and prison. And my expertise is in policing as it relates to traffic, oddly enough. In early 2000, I became a, while I was in Australia, I drove for Greyhound, which Australians like to claim was founded in Australia. I don't know whether that's true. I never followed that up. But anyway, and I drove for one of the regional bus lines there as well. So I have experience teaching cars, retraining people with disabilities, learning how to drive vehicles with hand controls, air brakes, trucks, and buses. So I have a whole, the whole gamut. And and if you want to see more information, you can find my autobiography over at the website, and Corey will put that information up for you as well. So, skill sets. The reason I encourage you to get your license and learn how to drive in the wintertime is because you're going to learn how to drive in adverse weather conditions. You're going to have better mastery of the primary controls. And just as a review, the primary controls are the steering wheel, the throttle, and the brake. And the throttle is also known as the gas pedal or the accelerator. I often call it the throttle because it works for both gas engines and diesel engines, or petrol engines as they're called in Europe. You don't call it a gas pedal if you're driving a diesel vehicle, because you can't put gas in a diesel engine. It doesn't make it go faster. Actually, it's very, very bad for a diesel engine. So know whether you have a diesel engine or not if you borrow your dad's big pickup truck. And it also, in learning how to drive in the wintertime in adverse conditions, also gives you an understanding of traction and when the vehicle breaks loose in traction. And the reason this is important is because you need to know when the vehicle is sliding or when the vehicle is beginning to get out of line. Because when the vehicle begins to skid and get out of line, you need to know to take your foot off the throttle, take your foot off the brake, and simply steer the vehicle. Get the vehicle back to straight, and then you can brake and have some success with that on slippery conditions in the wintertime. All right, so going for your road test in the wintertime, try not to listen to the rhetoric of everybody else. Oh my God, the wintertime, we're all going to die in a fiery inferno. We're going to crash into a tree, and oh, it's going to be horrible. If you listen to all that, you're not going to do anything. You're not going to get out of bed in the morning, and you're not going to go and have a shower because you might slip in the bathroom and you might die. All right? Yes, that is a possibility. But the reality is, if you learn how to drive and you take your road test in the wintertime, the reality is it's just going to be a bleak, winter day, the roads are going to be clear, you're going to have good tires on your vehicle, and everything's going to be fine. It's really not going to be any different from taking your road test in the summertime. There's going to be a couple little differences. There's going to be some snowbanks and limited space and those types of things, but for the most part, it's going to be almost identical to taking your road test in the summertime. But as I said, because there's snowbanks, the road test is less exact. You simply just have to get in behind the vehicle in front of you for the purposes of parallel parking. Don't get hung up in a snowbank and get the vehicle stuck, because like I said, driving examiners will not push the vehicle. They'll simply get out, walk back to the test center, and they'll leave you there, and you'll be wondering, okay, what happened? So unfortunately, you're not going to be successful in your road test if you get it stuck in a snowbank. So don't do that. All right. Know that you can drive in adverse conditions. If there is a little bit of snow and there's big snowbanks and those types of things, there's just some different strategies and skills that you put in place, and you're going to be fine. And then finally, for taking your road test in the wintertime, be sure that you're dressed for winter. I have some crazy friends who like to wear shorts all winter. Don't show up at the test center wearing your shorts and sneakers. If it is, especially if it's snowing, have some long pants on, have some boots, because remember, as I say about road tests, first impressions, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression on the driving examiner. If you're showing up in shorts and t-shirts or flip-flops in the middle of winter and there's 2 feet of snow piled up in snowbanks and whatnot, they're going to think, this person's a little weird and maybe not really ready for, taking the challenge of driving in the wintertime seriously, so it's unlikely that they're going to pass. So make sure that you drive with footwear and those types of things. If you can't drive with your snow boots on in the wintertime, have another pair of shoes or whatnot in the car, and switch out your shoes when you get in the car. The examiner will completely understand that. If you just say, listen, I can't drive with my winter boots on when I'm in the car, they'll understand that. They'll give you 30 seconds to change your boots, because you just pull your shoes off, pull your boots off, and then put your shoes on, and you're good to go, okay? So that's the other thing you can do. All right, so as I said, in the wintertime, the test is less exact. You have to stop before the sidewalks, and then you creep out until you can see, and if there is a large snowbanks at the intersection that you have to look around, of course you're going to stick your nose out, but you're going to creep out very slowly until you can know that for sure it is clear, and then you're going to proceed. As I said, with parallel parking, as you can see in the bottom image there, you don't have to be 8 to 12 inches from the curb or 15 to 20 centimeters. You simply have to be in behind the vehicle in front of you. Don't get into the snowbank. If you start feeling yourself pushing the vehicle into the snowbank, and this is the reason that you work in the parking lot with your pylons, because if you push the vehicle into the snowbank, you're going to get stuck. So if you feel the vehicle start to push into the snowbank and there's resistance and you're having to give more and more throttle, know that you need to pull ahead and you need to adjust for that, okay? You're not going to fail if you do that. Getting stuck in the snowbank is not an alternative that you want. As well, if there is snow and ice and the back roads aren't cleared, the residential streets, because they're not going to be, the major streets will, but the minor streets won't be in the wintertime, know that you can drive slower on those winter streets because they are snow covered. So that's the other thing that's probably going to make you feel a little bit more comfortable, is that you're going to be able to drive slower on snow-packed roads in the wintertime. So that's going to be the other thing that you can do as well. All right. As I mentioned at the beginning in the introduction, make sure that you have a vehicle fitted with good tires. If it is a lot of ice and hard-packed snow where you're driving and taking your road test, say for example you're in Duluth, Minnesota, or you're in North Dakota or someplace like that, or you're in Vermont, make sure that you have steel-studded tires on your vehicles. Lots of people here in Vernon, BC, where I live, have steel-studded tires on them. And then again, make sure that your tires are properly inflated as part of your pre-trip inspection before you go down for your road test. And again, I'll reiterate this for smart drivers. Make sure excuse me, that you do a pre-trip inspection before you show up for your road test, because you don't want to be denied your road test. I know here in British Columbia there's certain roads that you have to have winter tires, the M&S or the mountain symbol on the sides of your tires. If you don't have those, you will be denied your road test. You have to go home, find a vehicle that is safe and fit, and then come back and do it. Or if you have a brake light out, they're not going to let you go on your road test. So make sure you do your pre-trip inspection before you go down for your road test, and Corey will put that video up for you as well. And I forgot to introduce Corey. Corey is the moderator here, Bricks for Wheels, and Corey does a really awesome job of keeping the bad people out and helping the live stream to run smoothly. It's an integral part of doing all of this work here and getting the live streams up for you. So if you are unfortunate enough you get a day where there's a bit of snow and a bit of ice and the temperature is around 0 and it's slippery, you're going to have to stop on ice, and you're going to get off the brake, off the throttle, because if you hold the brake and you lock the wheels up, the vehicle is going to start to go out of control. It's going to go sideways, and you don't want to do that. So get your foot off the brake, get your foot off the throttle, and steer the vehicle in the direction that you want to go, right? Don't think of the old driver training days, the Bill Cosby skit of, if the vehicle goes into a skid, turn in the direction of the skid. It's like, what the heck are we talking about? You got like half a second to figure out what you're doing, and you're trying to figure out which way the skid is. No, just look in the direction you want to go and steer the vehicle in the direction you want to go. Keep your feet off the brake and the throttle, and most of the time, 95% of the time, the vehicle is going to straighten out as long as you don't have excessive speed. And you're certainly not going to have that as a new driver. You're not going to be driving too fast. And sometimes you're going to have to get out of the main tracks of the roadway where the other vehicles are driving. Just get out of those tracks and you can get a bit of traction and you'll be all right. All right? For the purposes of taking your road test in the wintertime, make sure that as part of your pre-trip inspection that the washer fluid is filled up and that you know how to use the windshield wipers. You can turn the windshield wipers off and activate the washer fluid, because if you get a day that it is snowing and there's a lot of slush and grease and yuck and guck coming off the roadways and onto the windshield, you're going to have to know how to turn the windshield wipers on and activate the wiper fluid to clear the windshield. As well, you're going to have to know how to work the defrost and heater controls. And again, I tell this not just for students taking their test in the wintertime, but in the spring and in the fall. You're going to have to activate these secondary controls at minimum: wipers and defrost. If you cannot do that, you are not ready for a road test, because you should be able to turn those controls on without even looking at them. So what I suggest or counsel you to do is to go down to the parking lot, work in the parking lot with the pylons, and work the windshield wiper controls, work the washer fluid, work the defrost and the heater controls. And that way, the examiners can be nice and comfortable in the car. They're not going to be worried about the fact that you can't see through the windshield and whatnot. Because if the examiner says to you, you need to wash the windshield so we can see here, you're going to accumulate demerits for that. Okay? Braking, drive for the conditions on the roadway. And in the winter time, brake early and then creep up to where you want to stop. So approximately half a block back from where you actually want to stop. If you're on hard pack or snow or ice or anything like that, slow down about a half a block back and then creep up to where you want to stop. That way you're going to get stopped where you actually want to stop. And again, if it's slippery and you start to feel the vehicle lose control, get off the brake, get off the throttle. And again, look at the video I posted on the community tab there on skid control, and Corey will put that up for you as well. And that'll show you vehicles going down a hill when the temperature is around 0 and it's snowing, and a couple of the vehicles actually lose control because they're on the brakes, they're holding the brakes, and the vehicle is going out of control. For the purposes of skid control and maintaining control of the vehicle, know that a spinning or locked wheel always leads. So if you have over acceleration and the wheels are spinning, the vehicle is going to start to move sideways. If you hold the brake on and the wheel is locked on a slippery surface, again, the vehicle is going to go out of control and you're going to lose control of that vehicle. All right, so prepare in the winter time. Work with the pylons in the parking lot. Experience oversteer, experience understeer, and again, have a look at the video on how to learn to drive in the wintertime. It'll give you some exercises that you can do some figure eights and spinning out in the parking lot and those types of things. You get a really good sense of what the vehicle's doing. As well, the schematic here, this is the Ohio Maneuverability test. So you got pylons 20 feet, you got a nose cone, and then the pylons are 9 feet apart, and you just drive in, and then you either go to the left or to the right of that nose cone. This is an exceptional exercise for you to learn where your vehicle is in space and place, and will really help you out. So learn how the vehicle responds when it loses traction, and this is another key skill that you're going to learn in the wintertime when you learn how to drive. All right, so in conclusion, take your road test in the wintertime. I strongly encourage you to do that. You're going to have a higher skill set. the test is less exact, and the likelihood of you driving in bad winter conditions on your road test are unlikely. And the reason for that is because if you have blizzard-like conditions, if you're in Duluth, Minnesota, for example, and you have winter-like conditions, blizzard-like conditions in the wintertime, it is unlikely that the examiner is going to take you out. They know that you do not have a high skill set, and they're not going to risk their safety. They're simply going to postpone the test, and they'll take you out another day if the weather is that bad or it's in question. So know that for the purposes of a road test in the wintertime. And you're just going to be a much, much better driver. So we'll spend the remainder of the time here on the live stream doing answering questions anybody has about passing a road test, learning to drive in the winter time, and defensive driving and whatnot. So lots going on here. Safi, my road test is on the 26th of December in New York, feeling anxious. And Corey probably put the anxiety video up for you. He's all, as well, Corey's put the video up for you on secondary controls. Awesome. And how to brake on ice in winter and maintain traction. Excellent. Jonathan, hello, Jonathan, my friend. How are you? Tuning in from New York. Yes, when there's snow and ice or without winter, yes, it is normal to be nervous, Katie. Fireman, lucky for me, I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. Not so lucky, actually, fireman. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that the highest number of crashes actually occur in June and July in the Northern Hemisphere. Of course, it's going to be different in the Southern Hemisphere. Their summer is January and February, which is kind of weird for those that live in the Northern Hemisphere. But know that the number of crashes actually go down when we have adverse weather conditions. And the reason for that is because people know that the weather is bad, and therefore they don't drive crazy. Like, they don't speed, they don't follow too close, they tend to keep their distance and those types of things. And yes, I can say all of that, but if you do have a dump of snow, unfortunately there are a high number of people that tend not to slow down early enough, and they think that their four-wheel drive is going to keep them out of the ditch and those types of things, but they don't realize that even though you have a four-wheel drive vehicle and it will go like crazy, that's all good and well, but the problem is that you still need to get these vehicles stopped, and they still brake the same as most other vehicles. So it's not really going to help you out having a four-wheel drive in the vehicle if you're driving like a crazy person. It was like one smart driver said a couple of years ago. He said, if you have snow tires on your vehicle, even if you're driving 100 miles an hour, snow tires are not going to help you out. So you have to drive to the conditions on the roadway and to the limitations of your vehicle as well. And this is the reason, some of the things that you're going to learn by learning how to drive in the wintertime. All right. Katie, how do I know if I am measuring the curb when parking and driving, practicing it on the road test? Okay, so Katie, you're in Arkansas. Just remind me if I'm correct on that. Again, what you need to do is you just need to, when you stop and park the vehicle, just get out or open the passenger door and just look and see how far away from the curb you are when you're parking there for the purposes of your road test. Now, for most people, parallel parking on their road test, it's just a matter of you got the cement curb that comes down, and then there's a demarcation between the cement curb and the pavement. As long as you're in that, kind of this far from the curb, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. As long as you don't hit the curb, you're going to be fine for the purposes of your road test. So that's all you have to do for the purposes of parallel parking. And even if you're a bit farther than that, if you're kind of like, what's that, like 20 inches? Even if you're 20 inches, take the demerits. Don't try and mess around and get it absolutely perfect. Remember, okay, it's the saying that I said to somebody today about about Winston Churchill, one of my favorite historical characters. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to carry on. And it's the first line in that. Success is not final. Getting your your license, your driver's license, is not final. This is not final. Getting your license is the beginning of learning how to drive. You have a whole career of learning how to drive. And let me tell you, I I have a PhD. I study traffic. I'm a driving instructor. I teach people how to drive truck. I teach people to drive cars, motorcycles, buses, and I am still learning stuff about driving and about people and historical, and people who drive and the motivating factors that cause people to do crazy stuff on the roadways and behind the wheel of a vehicle. So unfortunately, if you are thinking that, oh, hey, I got my driver's license, I know how to drive, you are a very dangerous person on the roadway if you think that, because you don't know how to drive. You simply met minimum standards to pass a license test, and I cannot stress that enough. Minimum standard to pass a road test, and that's what road tests are. They're minimum standards, absolutely minimum standards. None of what you learn to pass a road test teaches you how to drive at night, how to drive in the rain, how to drive by yourself, how to drive different vehicles, how to drive in the middle of Atlanta, Georgia, and rush hour when there's 6 lanes of traffic going around each side. They don't teach you how to drive on the other side of the road. They don't teach you how to drive a U-Haul. There's so many things that you are going to learn after you get your license, and you're just 20 years from now you're still going to be learning, because even cars change. The technology in cars. I get in somebody's new car and I just think, oh my God, look at all of the telematics in here. This is absolutely crazy. Okay, so we'll answer some more questions here. Hall phase, how long does it take to get a PhD? Hall phase, it depends on whether you're in the British system or whether you are in the American system. The American system is anywhere kind of 5 to 8 years, and if you're in the British system, it's anywhere sort of 3 to 6 years, depending on you yourself and how well you can study independently. Okay, KJ, hey Rick, much love. Just got my G2 on Friday in Ontario. Any tips on how to prepare for my G license? Awesome, congratulations on getting your G2. Brilliant. G license is more of the same of what you did for your G2, except because you're driving for 2 years on your G, they now expect a higher level of efficiency in terms of you driving. So you need to be more proficient in your ability to drive. Everything is just a little bit smoother. It's all the same stuff that you're doing. It's just a little bit more proficient. So that's what you need to do for the purposes of passing your G test, okay? Kim, I'm just going to call you Kim because I can't pronounce the rest of it. How come truck drivers drive so unsafe? Not all truck drivers do, and we cannot make these kinds of generalizations. I just want to say that up front. Some do, and unfortunately, because some do, it paints a bad picture for the rest of them that are doing it right. And I can't really answer that, but some do. And unfortunately, some car drivers don't drive well either. Some motorcycle drivers, bicycles, riders, and those types of things. Unfortunately, there's a percentage of people that do, and unfortunately, that small percentage of people who drive badly on our roadways tend to take up a lot of our attention and our energy, and we tend to think that that group of people doesn't drive well, and that's not true. There are a lot of very, very professional CDL drivers out there who are doing an awesome, awesome job moving freight and services on our roadways. John Doe, my daughter got her license thanks to you, but her mom won't let her drive in the snow. John, I am never letting my daughter drive in the snow. Actually, John, that's a misnomer. She's probably safer driving in the snow as long as she manages space around her vehicle and brakes early and puts in the other techniques and skills in place that you can watch here on the winter driving playlist. She's more at risk in the middle of the summer than she is in the wintertime because statistics show that the highest number of car crashes actually happen in the summertime. They don't happen in the wintertime because there's adverse weather conditions, and most people most of the time adjust their driving accordingly in inclement weather. Same thing when it rains, same thing when it's foggy, same thing any type of inclement weather, glaring sun and those types of things. People will adjust their driving accordingly. There was a newspaper article I had some years ago. It was in the 1920s, and they said traffic crashes reduced by 75% in bad weather. And that pans out according to the statistics. All right. Yes, and scooters. There we go. Perfect. Excellent. All right. So who else we got here? Anna. Hi, I'm a newly licensed driver who doesn't have experience in bad weather and try to stay off the road when it's snowing, raining. What's the best way to practice driving in bad weather safely? Excellent question, Anna. One of the ways to practice driving in bad weather, because you're eventually going to get into bad weather, and one of the techniques and skills that I suggest to students is, first of all, work in a parking lot, especially if it's wintertime. Get some pylons and go down and work in the parking lot. And learn to drive in the wintertime is a video here that I have. And it's just going down and playing in the parking lot with a bit of snow and, you know, backing up and doing some crazy stuff and whatnot. And that's a lot of fun. Okay, so do that. You'll get a good sense of mastery of the primary controls. You get a good sense of what the vehicle does when it brakes, when you lose traction, and how to respond to that. You know, and you're working at low speed, so you can get a good sense of what the vehicle does. The other thing that you do is drive on back roads, roads that have very low traffic density. And that way you can get a sense of the vehicle driving forward, what it feels like, how the steering wheel responds, how the brake responds, and those types of things. Get a good sense of braking early and then creeping up to where you actually want to stop, knowing that you have to work the steering wheel and the brake independently. So when you come up to stop, you're not going to try and turn at the same time that you're braking, because if you do that, you're just going to watch where you're trying to turn go past. I remember doing that when I first got my license, and I, in the wintertime, just stepped on the brakes and just kept on going straight because the wheels locked up. So that's what's going to happen. So work on back roads where there's very little traffic and those types of things, and all of that will help you out. And as well, Anna, in snow and in rain, try not to drive at night at the beginning. Make sure you do it in the daytime, because it's just going to be too difficult at night, because especially with rain, in the city particularly, when you get a lot of ambient light from the street lights and those types of things, out on highways and whatnot, you're going to get a lot of glare from the headlights and ambient light reflecting off the water on the roadway. So until you get comfortable driving in the daytime in inclement weather, drive during the day to learn how to drive in inclement weather, in rain and snow and those types of things, okay? Excellent. Ellie, why do people not stay in their lane when turning left or right? Is that legal somewhere in Canada? Ellie, people simply don't know which lane to go in, especially when in multi-lane turning. If you go to an intersection, you watch people turn left or right, as we know, for the purposes of a road test, it's left lane to left lane. So if you're in the left lane, you turn into the left lane and then switch to the right-hand lane after you turn left. Same thing with turning right. When you turn right, you turn from the right lane into the right lane. But unfortunately, many people don't do that. They will just, if they go left, they'll just drift over to the right lane, won't really look. And unfortunately, this is part of social driving, is that people just drift into whatever lane they want to go into. They don't switch lanes properly. And yes, it is a problem and it is a challenge, especially for people who are learning how to drive. So, for the purposes of a road test, for the purposes of defensive driving and driving well, right lane to right lane, left lane to left lane, and perhaps we can, change some of this social driving, because that is a habit that potentially could get you into a crash by sideswiping other vehicles. All right. Excellent. Kim, I'm not making any money, and should I change companies? Kim, yes, I think what you're meaning is that you're a CDL driver. You're not making any money. Kim, how long have you been driving? How long have you had your license? And then I'll just base my answer on that. Inexperienced. Hey, Rick, for the purposes of the end test, do you have to look in the rearview mirror for parallel parking as well as reverse stall parking? Inexperienced opinion, you're going to look out the back window. So for the purposes of reversing, you're going to put your hand on the back of the passenger seat, and then you're going to look out the back window. Have a look at how to back up correctly. Corey will put that video up for you, and that's what you need to do for the purposes of your road test. If you don't do that, you're not going to be successful. In addition to that, in addition to looking out the back window, you're going to check your mirrors. Obviously, you're going to check your mirrors, check the center mirror. If you do have a backup camera in your vehicle, don't use it exclusively, but you can look at it as another tool to be able to reverse safely for the purposes of your road test. And know that before you start backing up, 360-degree scan around the vehicle, and then every vehicle length that you're backing up, stop, do another 360-degree scan around the vehicle for the purposes of your road test. Samsung, I'm Anna. I have an appointment road test tomorrow in Grand Forks, Canada. This time is my third time. I hope tomorrow I will do my best. Excellent. Congratulations, Samsung, for that courage of going for your third road test, and you are going to be successful. Good luck on that. If you have any questions between now and then, let us know. Okay, so you've had, excellent. Kim, you've had your CDL since February. You've been working, and you've been working that whole time. Yeah, if you're not making any money with a company by now, because you've been driving 11 months, definitely go and look for another job and go, and no crashes. Yeah, definitely go and look for another job with another company, and you're going to be more successful. There are definitely lots of companies, CDL companies out there. And you're driving tractor trailer, I'm just confirming that. Just let me know that as well. James, I have a 5-gear Honda 2002. I just bought, don't understand the reverse, though that's my problem. Okay, so you have a Honda. James, when you're saying reverse, okay, are you having trouble getting the transmission into reverse? You have I'm guessing it's a manual transmission and you're having trouble getting the transmission into reverse. Is that what you're having trouble with, James? Just clarify that for me. Hall phase, why do semi-trucks have to sometimes go past the center line when turning? Oh, okay, so hall phase, unlike a car, trucks are 75 feet long. So your average car, depending on, kind of is sort of 16 to 20, 23, 24 feet. If you got a big pickup truck, it's going to be in the mid 20 feet range. So a tractor trailer can be 3 to 4 times longer than your average car. A tractor trailer unit takes 3 lanes of traffic to get around a corner. So if I'm turning, depending on the intersection too, if it's a big major intersection, it's going to be designed for tractor trailer units to actually turn the corner. But if I'm moving from one minor street to another minor street, depending on the configuration of the intersection, there's a lot of variables when you're turning a tractor trailer unit. But essentially, to get the tractor trailer around the corner, I'm going to have to go in this lane, I'm going to have to move right to the left side, and then I'm going to have to go right out into the other lane of traffic with the tractor, and then come back in to get the trailer around the corner, because there's something with large units, it doesn't matter whether it's a bus, a truck, a tractor trailer unit, they're going to have off-tracking, and off-tracking is the path of the rear wheels is going to be shorter than the path of the front wheels. So essentially what's going to happen is if the front wheels go way out here, then the rear wheels of the vehicle, depending whether it's the trailer or the back wheels of the vehicle, are going to go this way. They're going to take a much shorter path. So you have to, when you turn a large vehicle, you have to compensate for off-tracking by getting the tractor or the front of the unit way out to compensate for that shorter path that the back of the vehicle is going to take. Okay, yeah, Kim, so you're driving tractor trailer. Yeah, definitely my counsel would be for you to start looking for other employment, and then that way you're going to make some money. Okay? Sometimes roads are not wide enough. Yeah, there's definitely like that, and definitely in New Jersey for sure. That's a bit of a challenge getting a tractor trailer unit around down there. And I have another question about city driving. When you are making a turn at a controlled intersection, should you wait for pedestrians to clear the crosswalk, or can you start your turn? Okay, Anna, you need 1 lane buffer of space between you and pedestrians. So, for example, if you're turning right and you waited for pedestrians and they get off the curb and they walk in front of your vehicle, and say you're on a multi-lane and there's 2 lanes, you need to wait for them to get to the center of the roadway and then you can turn. Because the reason for that buffer of space is in case the pedestrians, oh, we forgot something, or we're not going to go that way, or whatever, and they turn around and they come back. That's the reason for the buffer of space when you're turning your vehicle between you and pedestrians. And ideally, you want that 1 lane of space. And that's if the pedestrians are going away from you. If the pedestrians are coming towards you, you're going to need a larger buffer of space than 1 lane. So know that for the purposes of the road test. Okay, Kim, companies that pay well. Kim, where are you in the world? Wow, I think you're in the States. Where are you in the States? Just let me know. Okay, James, the reverse doesn't understand when to release. Okay, James, not understanding what you mean by it doesn't release. Well, that's great that you admitted that, James, that you have a heavy foot. Yeah, I got a heavy foot too. No doubt about that. So, what you're talking about, James, is that you're backing up and you don't know when to bring the vehicle to a stop. Is that what you're having trouble with in terms of learning how to reverse? Yeah, just clarify that for me. L, I'm confused about the new distracted driving laws in BC. The phone can be loose in the car now, and that doesn't count as distracted. L, yeah, I've been. One of the smart drivers has been kind enough to post the new distracted driving laws that are happening in Saskatchewan, and you can know that these distracted driving laws are going to become part and parcel of our driving across Canada, not just in Saskatchewan, not just in BC. And for all new drivers, I would strongly encourage you to get a phone holder in your car and get in the vehicle. If you don't have the discipline to take your phone and put it in the back seat out of reach or someplace like that, I would strongly encourage you to have it mounted in a phone holder. And if you need to use the phone at all, pull over into a parking lot, get off on the side of the road, get the vehicle stopped, and then use your phone and then carry on. Do not use the phone while you're driving. It's not only is it unsafe, but if you get caught, the penalties are severe now. I think they start at $500 or $600 and 3 points. It's just an incredible amount of money for distracted driving. And even if you take your phone and say, for example, it's on the passenger seat, you pick your phone up to look at the time and you put it back down, and the police officer sees you, you're going to get a fine for that. That is distracted driving. Now, I don't agree with that. I don't make the laws. But for the purposes of distracted driving, if you do that, that is distracted driving, and you are going to lose a lot of money, and you are going to lose demerits. And if you're in the GLP program, the GDL program, the graduated licensing program, which most of you are as young drivers, as new drivers, you are going to incur a severe penalty, and it's going to set you back in terms of getting your full license. As well, the other problem with distracted driving charges, it's going to affect your insurance. Your insurance is going to skyrocket. So do not risk it, okay? Get yourself a phone holder, and actually what I'll do is I'll do you a favor. I'll do some reviews on a phone holder. I'll find the best ones. I'll make a recommendation. I'll make a video for that, and then we can get people phone holders. And you can put the phone in the phone holder if you're using it for navigation or using it for music or those types of things, because we all do. We hook it up to our Bluetooth and run it through our stereo in our car. Do that before you set off. Get whatever you need to do, because this guy who did the video from Saskatchewan, he's a police officer, and they brought him on because he is gung-ho in terms of nailing people for distracted driving. And he sat there all like in his chair, like talking like this, thinking that he's the guru of distracted driving, when the bottom line is he works for the traffic division. And I've heard police talk about other police who work in these traffic divisions who nail people for distracted driving and traffic offenses, and these people are ruthless. Ruthless. You will not talk yourself out of a distracted driving. If you simply just pick up your phone to look at the time and then you set it back down and they see you do that, you're done. You are not going to get off that. It's very unlikely that you're going to get off that. And now it's cost you $600 and 3 points on your license. So do not risk it, okay? Do not risk it. Get yourself a phone holder. All right, there we go. You are most welcome, L. Anything we can do to help you out? Okay, Hall Face. Excellent question. Should I use my phone while at a red light? No, no, no. No, 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 no. Do I need to say it a couple of more times? Do not use your phone at a traffic light. It is distracted driving. You are at the controls of the vehicle. The vehicle is in traffic. You are driving that vehicle. You are operating that vehicle. And you will not win that one either. If you go to court and you say the vehicle was stopped, I was not driving the vehicle, you won't win it. This has been in the courts since the inception of motor vehicles, and I have read all the legal cases in the 1920s when drivers were being charged with drunk driving, and they're out at the front of the vehicle. This is back in the days before electric starters, and they're cranking the engine over, and they're completely obliterated, and the police officer charges them with drunk driving. They go to court. Well, I wasn't driving the car. Yes, you were. You had due care and control of that vehicle. Due care and control of that vehicle. And you were trying to start it, and you were drunk. And it's the same thing with distracted driving. If you were sitting at the lights, you are behind the wheel of the vehicle, you have due care and control of that vehicle, you are distracted driving, you will get a ticket for distracted driving. Do not touch the phone while you are in control of that vehicle. I cannot stress that enough. Okay? Excellent, Kim. Glad to hear that. Over-the-road driver, Kim, there are tons of companies in the States. Schneider National, I don't know whether you told me where you are in the States. You live in Colorado, Greeley, Colorado. Yeah, there's a couple of companies in Colorado. I know that, like Kim, I don't understand why you're not making money as an over-the-road truck driver. An over-the-road truck driver, you should be making $1,000 a week, $1,500 a week as an over-the-road truck driver. If you are not making that kind of money as an over-the-road truck driver, you need to find another company. And ideally, Kim, what I would suggest to you, if you're kind of physically able, run flat deck, because you're going to make a lot more money running flat deck. And one of the secrets I'll tell you about running flat deck, Kim, is that I pulled vans for years, and it wasn't until later in my driving career that I learned about flat decks that you don't have to get into a loading dock and they forget about you. With flat deck, you pull into the timber yard or wherever you're unloading your freight. You're sitting in the middle of the yard. You're in their way. They unload you within an hour at the most. Generally, when you're hauling flat deck, they get you unloaded in 20 minutes, half an hour. Yes, you have to strap the load down and those types of things, and that can take a little bit longer, but you get paid for all that. If you have to throw a tarp onto a flat deck load, you get paid extra for that. So know that you're going to load and unload quicker, and you're not going to sit in loading docks. I've sat in loading docks with a van all day because you're not in their way. Whereas with a flat deck, you're in their way. You're going to make more money. You're going to make more money running a flat deck than you are a van. Van drivers just don't get paid the same as flat deck drivers because you got a bit more work to strap loads down and tarp and those types of things. So if you're physically able, Kim, I would strongly encourage you to think about running flat deck because you're going to make a lot more money. Okay? Jaden, my friend, hey, Rick, I go for my driver's test on Tuesday. Excellent. And your best friend is coming home from the Army. That is awesome. Is it okay to drive 51 or 52 if the speed limit is 50? It is. And for the purposes of a road test, and again, this comes back to scanning, okay? So just go over this real quick for the purposes of a road test. There's 4 fundamental components. Doesn't matter where you are in the world, what class of license you're going for. They have the same 4 fundamental components. Space management, speed management, observation, communication. And I'm just going to touch a little bit on you about speed limits. Speed management is directly tied to observation because for the purposes of your road test, observation. Far down the road, in, check the center mirror, far down the road, in, check my instrument panel, far down the road, check my wing mirrors, far down the road. And you repeat that every 8 to 12 seconds. Every 8 to 12 seconds, you are checking your speedometer, your instrument panel. So if you go over the speed limit, you shouldn't be over the speed limit for longer than 10 or 15 seconds because if you are over the speed limit for longer than 8 to 15 seconds, it tells the examiner that you're not observing correctly. Your scanning pattern's not in place because you haven't adjusted your speed, because you should be looking at your speedometer every 8 to 10 seconds. So those 2 things tie in together, okay? Tobina, hello, my friend. How are you? Excellent. Hall phase, I'll answer your question about flat deck here in just a second, okay? So, space management. Don't get near anything, less likely you're going to hit something. Following distance is 2 to 3 seconds under ideal conditions in a passenger vehicle. The larger the vehicle, the greater the following distance. All right, controlled intersection, stop behind the stop line, behind the crosswalk line or sidewalk, at the edge where the 2 roads meet. When you stop in traffic, stop so you can see the tires of the vehicle in front of you making clear contact with the roadway. Don't block intersections. If you can't clear an intersection on your road test, do not enter that intersection, because if you get in the intersection and the light turns red, automatic fail on your road test. So don't enter an intersection unless you can exit the intersection for the purposes of your road test. That's space management. Speed management. You're going to do posted speed limit or the flow of traffic, whichever is less for the purposes of your road test. We talked about observation, far down the road, in, check your center mirror, down the road, in, check your instrument panel, far down the road, check wing mirror on the left, far down the road, wing mirror on the right, and then repeat that every 8 to 12 seconds. Every time you turn, 2 shoulder checks. So one approximately half a block before the turn, and then another immediately before the turn. If you've been sitting at the intersection for a while, you might have to shoulder check a couple of times before you go. Anytime that you move the vehicle sideways or change lanes, 2 shoulder checks. Mirror signal shoulder check, space is there, 3 flashes, 1, 2, 3. Click, click, click. Shoulder check again, and then start to move over if the space is still available. Speed up slightly as you're moving across to change lanes because you're covering more distance. As you go cover that greater distance, you need to speed up a little bit to maintain your speed. All right, and then finally communication, the 5 ways that we communicate with other traffic on the roadways. Lights and signals, horn, use your horn sparingly because unfortunately in this day and age it's seen as a sign of aggression. If you are sitting at a light, for example, and the light changes green and the vehicle in front of you doesn't go, just go beep beep and they'll go, right? Because they're probably, as all phase, they're probably sitting there checking their phone. So they didn't see the light turn to green. All right, third way is hand gestures. Use all 5 fingers. Don't tell them they're number 1 on a road test. You won't be successful. Number 4, eye contact. If you have a pedestrian or a cyclist or a motorcyclist, get eye contact if you're not sure what that person is doing. Okay, and then finally and most importantly, the position of your vehicle or other vehicles on the roadway will indicate the intentions of the driver. So for example, if you're merging out onto the freeway, and I tell students this, communicate early, put your signal on as soon as you get onto the on-ramp, accelerate to highway speed as you're coming out, looking for your gap, aiming for your gap. And if you get out and you're halfway down the acceleration lane and the gap doesn't appear, crowd that left side of your lane. If you crowd the left side of your lane and you have your signal on, I guarantee you that other drivers on the freeway are going to start making room for you because they're thinking that you're going to come out. Okay, so those are the 4 ways. Space management, speed management, observation, communication. Those are the 4 ways that you pass, those are 4 fundamental components of both a road test, defensive driving, regardless of where you are in the world or what class of license you're going for. All right. And haul face, flat deck is a trailer on the back of a truck that's just a deck. Okay, there's no sides on it, there's no roof on it. Okay, and there's no tarps or anything. And then any freight that you put onto that, whether it's timber, equipment, vehicles, or whatnot, it has to be chained down or strapped down. And so that's what a flat deck truck is. Okay. All right, Kim, I never go over. Excellent. Jonathan, one time I was picking up my kids on my school bus. My phone went off. Never picked it up. Turned out it was my supervisor wanting to give me overtime. He asked me why I didn't pick up. Yeah, that's the irony of living in the world in which we live, Jonathan. And that's ironic. Okay, Matthew from Alberta. I'm still doing driver training. Excellent. I told him I was driving and couldn't pick up. Whole office laughed, and my supervisor, knowing I was already moving out on the road in my school bus. Excellent. James, okay, reverse, my feet down on the clutch, my feet down on the brake. Do I release the clutch to level up the brake? What's next? Okay, Jonathan, or James rather, I think what you need to do is go back and look at the videos on how to drive a manual transmission, and that will really help you out, I think, in terms of answering your question. Once you look at that, because that will give you the details of what you're looking for, Corey will put that video up for you, and that'll get you going, okay? Epic, do you like advice on not being exact during winter time? Since examiners don't like students being stuck in a snowbank. Some states like New Jersey and PA find learners not clearing snow off their car. Yeah, and Epic, that goes without saying, and that's a good point because I didn't make that point, so thank you for reminding me of that. Yes, if you did get snow the night before your road test, make sure that you clear your vehicle completely off. Get all the snow off the vehicle before you go down for your road test, okay? Don't show up with snow on the roof for the purposes of your road test. That, you know, that's kind of like having winter boots and long pants on when you show up for your road test. That does not look good for you. That does not it just doesn't work for you for the purposes of your road test. So as Epic reminded me there, make sure that you completely clear all the snow off your vehicle. Kim, so do I need to move into the other lane when cars are merging? Kim, only if you can, okay? If you can't, again, I know that you can't sometimes. You simply can't get over. There's other vehicles there. They're crowding you, those types of things. If you can, yes, that's a professional courtesy. The onus of responsibility, the onus for merging, I'm not saying this correctly, let me back up. The onus of responsibility for merging correctly is on the merging vehicle, okay? I can't stress that enough. Yes, it is. But it is a professional courtesy for not just CDL drivers, but also others driving cars. If you can move over, yes, it's a professional courtesy. Sometimes it's if the person on the acceleration lane is doing what they're supposed to do, which is being accelerating, they got their foot into it and they're going. For those of us on the freeway already, sometimes it's just a matter of canceling the cruise and just letting the car slow down for like 10 seconds and then going again. And if the person on the acceleration ramp is doing what they're doing and they're accelerating, sometimes that's all it needs. Is just for you to let off the throttle for 10 seconds, slow down 2 or 3 miles an hour, and they'll get out and away they go. Okay? It's teamwork. And I know, and I've seen people, I've had truck drivers, oh, we don't have to. Yes, the onus of responsibility is on the merging driver, but driving is a social event. We all need to work together. If we all work together, it's going to be safer. Okay? You're most welcome, James. Anything we can do, definitely leave us a comment. We'll definitely help you out. And for those of you, again, hit that like button, thumbs up button, hit that. Everybody, give that a smack. As well, if you like what you see here, if you're getting your questions answered, consider subscribing to be a smart driver here on the channel. As well, for those of you watching on the replay, leave a comment down in the comment section and hit that thumbs up button. Thanks for being here. All right, Gara, I'm currently learning how to drive a bus, but I'm having trouble with understanding how my point of reference relates to my pivot point on the left and the right hand turns when driving a bus. Any advice? Yes, one of the things I would suggest to you, Garo, is to practice backing up. Work in the parking lot. If you have access to a parking lot or whatnot, go around the corners and those types of things. And then that way, that will teach you where your vehicle is in space and place. And if you have an area that you can work on with some pylons and whatnot, then that's going to help you to figure out where your vehicle is in space and place and those types of things. And really, if you're working with an instructor, he or she should be able to help you with those kinds of things, okay? Excellent. Giveaways. Excellent. How are you, my friend? Awesome. Lots of people here. So, great live stream. There we go. So, if you're going for a road test, head over to the Smart Drive Test website and pick up your pass your road test first time checklist. Get that checklist, and that will really help you out. Jaden, you said your driver's test and your best friend is coming. Excellent. You feel confident. You're ready for your road test there, Jaden. Epic. Arlene, are you taking road tests? You usually take... Okay. Awesome. There we go. So, lots of questions, great live stream today. Can I use my rear view camera while doing the road test? You can, but don't use it exclusively. You do have to look out the back window, but do glance at your backup camera, do glance at your wing mirrors, but don't use it exclusively, okay? You do need to be looking out the back window for the purposes of reversing on a road test, okay? Awesome. So we're getting up near the end here. If you have any more quick questions here. Michael likes my snowman. Yes, it is Christmas. We got a little bit of Christmas stuff going on here. Frosty the Snowman's back there as well. I had some Christmas music playing earlier. And yeah, so it's been really good. So I'm looking forward to Christmas. Yes, excellent. There you go. And that's some great advice, Jonathan. Thank you for that. Yes, the back tires are the pivot points. And just to elaborate on what Jonathan just said about the rear tires of any vehicle are going to be your pivot points, whether it's a trailer, whether it's the back of a truck, or whether it's the back of the bus. It's exactly what Jonathan just said there, that the rear tires of the bus back here, so the bus is here, the bus is going to pivot around those tires. So when you go around a corner, so you say you're doing a right-hand corner and this is your splay. The splay is the rounded part. When the back tires are halfway around that splay, that's when you're finished the corner. So I just want to thank Jonathan for reminding me that and jogging my memory. Okay. Do the streams on Tuesday. Is Tuesday a good day for you, Hall Face? Okay. Excellent. Koshik, when is my next stream? I'm seriously working on getting streams together for another stream during the week that is specifically geared towards CDL drivers. So it's going to be specifically for bus and truck drivers. So I'm thinking that I'm going to do another one. I'm going to put a poll up here, and I'm going to figure out when the best day is going to be to do that. Excellent. There you go, Jonathan. Excellent. Okay. Awesome. So thank you, everybody. Just watch your hill start video. Excellent. There you go. Perfect. So we're helping people getting going on manual transmissions, buses, trucks, cars, helping everybody be a safe driver. So if you've had a test in the last couple of weeks that you've passed, congratulations on that. Stay informed, be more professional here on the channel, and thank you for being part of the Smart Driver community. And for those of you who have a road test coming up the next couple of weeks, couple of days, whatnot, good luck on that. All the best. Remember to breathe. That'll help cause your body to relax. Know that you're not going to completely get rid of your fear and anxiety, but you can, put it at bay and carry on with the task at hand. So thanks very much for great questions today and making this live stream awesome. Take care, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. All the best. Bye now.